All right, let's get down to business. Natty 19, coming in hot. Oh, where am I?
The brakes right
on. Coming in not so fucking hot. A bit stagnant.
Coming in at a moderate speed.
Moderate speed and then a quick stop. Here we go. This is, I think, where we're at. You guys had freed Saven. And what was the other guy's name? Pop
Elgin.
quiz. Elgin. Nice, you guys pay attention.
Who?
So Saven and Elgin, what'd you learn from him? They were belonging to the Order of the Shield. And Elgin was forced to drink a concoction of sorts.
Yeah.
That's why it was such a precedent to get out of there. We have to get Elgin to safety immediately. Zimwabi had taken them to the boats. You guys said a quick goodbye because you're not sure what's going to happen. I think you guys had intended to go and investigate further and look for their missing companions who hadn't been seen in days. And those companions were a woman by the name of Ivana and an academic, a man who is a bit of a learned man named Richard, both also members of the Order of the Shield. They were responding to a mysterious note that they had received from Camp Righteous that had said Camp Righteous now belongs to the dead.
Sure does.
Zimwabi took off to the boats that were behind the Elder's Hut. Get Saven to one of those boats. They only needed one, so there's still one boat there. Go.
Our impression was that the drums might have some sort of controlling effect, some kind of enchantment on the labor here in the camp.
On the slaves, correct. This boat, does it look like it could hold the four of us?
No, it's
If it came to it?
3-man vessel. You have 2 canoes stashed a bit downstream.
So we could fit who we must in this canoe, and then Copernicus can sneak back to our other canoe.
Well, let's not be too hasty. We shouldn't risk our necks too much here. Last I checked, the 3 Seas Shipping and Freight wasn't paying us to save these people. We've got our charter, so...
If we stop the drums, there should be enough chaos that we can find who we need to find and then leave without too much pursuance, hopefully.
I agree, and I would like to, if at all possible, make sure that we do save these poor souls.
I understand. I mean, I haven't done a good deed in a long time, that's for sure, but just let's not get ourselves killed. You're a smart man, Zavril. I'm sure you agree with me.
Yes, I'd rather not die today. On that note, who is the girl that might or might not be here?
Ivana.
No. The priestess or something.
Oh, yes.
Did you catch her name?
No, it's just
I don't think I name
priestess.
dropped her yet.
Yeah.
No, a dozen Yuanti and a priestess, and we thought there might be 40 or 50 Zinti, and our 2 subjects. Can we zoom the map out a little bit?
Are we behind the hut now? Because we need to get to that grove of dead trees with the...
Obelisk.
Yeah.
And that's thick. Is that thick bush in between the hut and the...
Yes, it is. You can manage it, but it is difficult terrain.
Does the shoreline also go back there?
No. The shore is...
Runs along the
it goes up
west
this
side
way.
here.
So let's sneak around the back of this Elder's Hut and, get eyes on that area and see what's going on.
Yep.
All
So
right.
we know we have a guard to the south of us patrolling.
We have one making rounds.
So sneaking around...
There's a tower to the east of the...
a manned tower to the east of the dig site. All right. And as you start making your way through, out around the Elder's Hut to the dig site, you now catch... I actually have some flavor text, so I'm going to put a circle here on the map. My mouse is fucked.
It's a nice circle.
And, yeah. So, approaching the construction site, the first thing you notice is the source of the beating drum. A Yuan-ti, much like the one that you encountered guarding the Elder's Hut, sits upon a makeshift scaffold overlooking the project, and it appears to be completely focused on beating the drum, almost entranced. A couple dozen primitive humans work tirelessly on various tasks, all surrounding the erection of what appears to be not the monolith that you assumed at the distance, but instead it's a circle of small spires. So when you're first... Do we need a moment?
What's happening?
Do we need a moment here?
No. It's containing myself.
Do you want to share with the rest of the class what's so
No.
funny,
Is it because
guys?
I said erection?
I was trying. Like, I was not.
You
gonna,
know, when
I was not going to interrupt you. I was silent completely. I'm crying. I was trying. I was trying so hard to be quiet that I'm crying. And you had to point it out.
You know, when I was thinking of a choice of words, I was like,
Like you typed it out and looked at it.
I was like,
and
I
you're
think we're all grown. I think I could get away with saying this without any.
And then your
Incident.
wife ruins everything.
Okay. So, in the center of these spires, a large contraption built above a 10 by 10 hole in the ground with two thick ropes hanging down from either side of it, disappearing into the depths.
Some kind of lift.
Quincy, you've seen and read enough to know this to be a platform lift. Nothing magical or anything, but you are familiar with these contraptions. It's often used to gain continued access to deep ruins, usually with temporary intent. That's a keynote that only an archaeologist would know. In fact, now, with this in view, you're taken back to the first time you've ever seen a sight like this. The day was hotter than usual, and with the winds picking up, an even younger young Quincy follow. This is crazy. If we go any further back, you wouldn't be born anymore. He steps off the horse carriage, plopping onto the dusty ground of a dig site. The glare of the high noon sun was enough to kill an ill-prepared man, and the building winds carried the dust into every crack and crevice. Do not run off, Quincy. There is no telling if this storm is passing or if the worst is yet to come. It was the stern voice of your father, Edmund. You'll do well to wait for Sir Thalon, he says while reaching for his work bag. Thalon Triss was the tutor hired by your father. Two men approach, and like almost everyone else on site, these men are covered head to toe in dig garb. And as they approach, one of the men walks gracefully to you, Quincy, and he pulls the dusty cloth from his face, looks down at you, and he says, 15 years ago, on this very day, you were brought into this world for many purposes, Quincy, one of which is to be standing here in this very moment. You stare up at the man's elven eyes, which are such a rich blue, you often catch yourself wondering if they're glowing slightly. Edmund, your father, has his bag in his hand and comes to stand at your side, and he greets the two men. Sir Thalon, thank you for meeting us here. I hope we didn't keep you waiting for long. Thalon turns to your father. You say waiting with the implication of boredom, Master Edmund. He gestures to the second man. Alarad has given me the gift of great company. Alarad crouches before you. He reaches into his pocket and produces a silver piece, and he says, Happy name day, Quincy. I'll tell you, pay close attention to Sir Thalen's teachings. You'll go well beyond this company. And after handing you the coin, he stands and he faces your father. Edmund, thanks for coming on short notice. I have a feeling this fine will elevate the 3 Seas shipping and freight to new heights. Edmund squints, clutching his bag tight to his chest. Your father, quite unlike Sir Thalen, seemed to never find time to be at ease, ever a tense man. And to whom do we owe our good fortune to, Every copper piece in our store has passed through my fingers, Alarad. I know this procurement is well beyond our means. Then Alarad moves closer to the skeptical Edmund. You strain to hear him, but you're able to make it out. The deed was obtained for the company by the Sylvain Estates. Zig himself made the deal, so I don't know the full arrangement. Edmund, for now, let's look at this as good news, okay? Think of our future. Think of your children's future. I have always thought of the future of my children, Alarad, with or without the elevation by obscure and questionable means. And at that, Sir Thalen turns to you. Come along, Quincy. We have free reign over the entire dig. Let us see what secrets await us. And when he extends his hand for you to follow him, his dusty robe shifts and you notice the sunlight glint from his rapier hanging from his belt. Thalen and the young Quincy begin walking down towards the platform lift, and you can hear, "Have I ever told you of the time I had defeated a myriad of demon invaders and won the heart of a fairy princess? It happened within the depths of an unearthed keep not unlike this one." And you hear a tiny voice, "Of course, Sir Thalen, it is my absolute favorite one thus far." And the two move out of view. The memory fades, and you're back in Taguda village. Your gaze falls from the lift, then down to the rapier at your side.
This is a dig site.
Interesting. Is that a lift?
Yes, very, very observant, Copernicus.
You notice the lift is in the down position.
They are looking for something here.
Now, several sconces light the work area well enough. You see, once again, a bunch of the Zinti all working on various tasks to build, I'll say build rather than erect, to build this sort of spire around this hole. Why don't you give me is there a, try to think of the knowledges. Where's my, I need to get a character sheet so I could look at the
Like
skills.
I wanted to roll like an Arcana or some kind of check, like on the spires. Like, is this some kind of magical?
Yeah, why don't we do that? Why don't we do religion or arcana, whichever one's higher? So you could try to get a little bit of a gist of what might be happening here.
What was the first one you said?
Our religion or arcana.
Oh, they both suck.
19.
20.
7.
Rolled the natty 19.
Right?
Starting off hot.
Okay, so pretty much you're not quite certain, but you get the idea that maybe this spire that's being built, these pillars being built around the hole, maybe once they're finished inside, something else might be built within it. You've seen similar spires used in various other religions or ritual sites with a little bit more permanence. And there are cases where there are a few where there's just spires and nothing in between. Usually in those cases there's a portal of some sort or some sort of focus. It's hard to guess the intent of the Yuan-ti because you're really just not quite familiar with the race.
Perhaps if we get a closer look, we could discern more information.
So as you guys are talking, the lift, the contraption begins to turn, and the ropes begin to move, and you can only assume that the platform is now coming up. Now, you guys are well hidden. I don't think a stealth check is necessary. There's a lot of noise going on, and you're under the cover of night. But provided you're not trying to move anywhere, we can hand wave a stealth check. But the lift is coming up.
We're all like crouched down in the in the bushes, pretty much,
You know,
right?
that's what I'm thinking.
thick.
Yeah, because there is a real thick. The listeners can't really see the map, but this is a pretty thick map. Tons of trees all over it.
I can see.
My map has like 4 trees on it, but use your imagination. You're in the jungle. There's trees all over this place. I'm thinking one tree on my map equates to like, I'm going to go ahead and say like 1,500 trees. No, that's a little excessive, but you know what I mean. So they're in like the thickness of the jungle that's surrounding this village, and they're looking in from the thick. So
as the platform's coming up, I'm studying the guy playing the drums.
Yeah.
What am I
Yeah.
getting out of that?
Yeah,
What am I
so
seeing there?
What I'm picturing this guy to be, all right, you've all been to like a hippie festival. You know that one guy that's just tripping out and he's just wailing on a drum for like 14, 15 hours straight.
Buddy's playing with like those stupid sticks next to him.
There's a hula hooper.
Yeah.
There's some sort of hula hooper going on, but none of that's here. The drummer seems to be entranced, as if there's some sort of magic involved. You being a warlock or familiar with such things. You know, there's definitely some sort of connection to the drum and the way the Zinti are working like ants, so methodically without ever speaking to each other.
If we take out that drummer, it's gonna draw the attention of the other 11 Zinti. Or, Yuanti, I mean.
Hopefully, though, that there's enough chaos that it won't matter. Either way, if that drumming stops, no matter how it stops, we alert the Yuana.
There's also the question of whether or not we care about the Yuanti up in the tower.
Yuana. Sorry.
Is that like plural for you?
yeah, that's plural.
If the drum is controlling the Zinti and, I don't know, whoever else, it should cause enough distraction if they are freed from their trance.
We would be assuming that they would rise up then in that case, or at least
Yes, and we
attempt
would
to
look
flee.
like the outsiders while we search for Richard and Ivana.
And the Zinti, they're only held by, well, we're alleging that they're held by enchantment, but they're not tied. They don't have chains or shackles or anything.
They don't.
Neck collars, though,
I was
right?
going to say, I think I did mention the collars. It is a defining key detail that's shared amongst every single one of them. And you notice it's not all just Zinti. I know I didn't say this before, but there's peppered in. There's a couple other, they don't look like Zinti. They look like outsiders, much like yourselves. Just a few, 3 or 4 here and there. But most are either Zinti or tribal folk.
Can I do a check to see what the collars are made of?
They look very similar to the ones that you've seen in the Out of the Abyss campaign. No, they're really thin collars,
Metal?
and they are dark metal.
Can I? Is one close enough? Are any of them within 30 feet?
Yeah, I'm gonna say one on occasion is going to pick up stones from a pile that's within 30 feet of you.
I'd like to cast Detect Magic and see if I could determine what school of magic, or if indeed, I'm assuming.
Yeah,
that they're
Detect Magic will tell you what school it is. So when you cast Detect Magic, the collar you do see the pattern, the weave, and the specific type of pattern could only be the School of Enchantment.
It is as we suspected. The collars they wear, they are of enchantment magic.
Now, at this point, as you guys are doing all this, the lift finally rises, and you notice 2 of the Yuanti. One of them is very similar to the one that you fought outside of the Elder's hut. It's got the head of a snake and the body of a man, and it's got a bow on his back and a scimitar at his side. The other one is a woman who... Actually, let me bring up going to bring up a photo here. We can throw it
Nice.
on the old Tumblr.
I think we might have a sticker of one similar to from the thing you brought back
Oh,
from
yeah.
that con, yeah.
Yeah, PAX Unplugged. They were giving out Tomb of Annihilation stickers at one of the D&D panels.
I believe
Nice.
there's a Yuan-Ti on there. A woman.
Yeah, so that's what she
She
looks
looks
like.
very human.
That show, to describe for the listeners that are driving or whatever and they can't access our Tumblr, you can pretty much picture this drop-dead gorgeous woman, but she's kind of like hideous in the face.
She's got a butter face.
She's got snake eyes and maybe some hints of scale around her shoulders. Her nose is somewhat
Serpentine.
You think that's the priestess?
serpentine.
Now, you guys remember, as pointed out by Erme, the priestess is said, as Saban told you, had the body of a snake. The priestess did.
Maybe
Now,
she can shapeshift.
This one is bipedal, but yes, you're right to assume that some Yuan-Ti are known to have shape-shifting abilities. But yeah, and she's wearing a purple gown, very ornate. Her jewelry that she's wearing is very pronounced. She looks intense. And as the lift reaches its destination, the two of them, they're speaking in this guttural tone, and they begin to move out into Takuta village, into the village proper, leaving the lift in the up position.
What if we try a little enchanting of our own? Maybe we can charm this drummer and get him to stop playing.
I'm not entirely certain that taking care of the drummer will disable the enchantment. If the collars are somehow tied to all of this, there may be more intricacies at play.
I fear I don't know my magic well enough to accomplish such a thing.
Maybe if you are capable of charming him, then we could get the information from him.
Oh, yeah.
But once he stops drumming, we will have alerted the camp that something is amiss.
What if we take out the scaffolding altogether? Bring him
Is it-
crashing down?
Is the lift itself guarded, or I mean,
No, the only guard you see is that tower to the east, maybe about 60 feet or so. Just looking at the map, it looks like about 60 feet off, and he's facing outward. I mean, every now and again he glances in, but
do you think we should use the lift to scout what's below?
Not until this place was clear. I wouldn't want to be down there with the Yuan-Ti above and alerted to our presence. We're fish in a barrel at that point.
Yeah, what happens if they raise the platform? We'd be stuck down there.
The platform is already raised. Oh, you mean if we're going down and then they raise it?
I mean, is there any way we could... there's no way we can sneak down there, right? There's all these...
I mean, it appears that the only access
Not
is
without collars or something that looked like a collar.
Perhaps we could secure a rope to the bottom of the platform that they wouldn't see from above. And then if they raise the platform, we'd have a rope.
We could hide underneath.
Well, in order to get back up, like if we get stuck down there.
Yeah, the
But
Zinti
you probably
appear,
could lower and raise the lift from above or from below, right?
The Zinti appeared. There's something. Actually, Erme, you would notice this immediately. They appear to not have any kind of human qualities to them. They appear as if they're mindless at this point. The way they're operating, they're not communicating. They're not wiping sweat from their brow. All these little defining details that Erme would be looking out for. You're seeing them all point to these guys aren't even there.
So they seem so enchanted that maybe we could walk among them. Perhaps they wouldn't even notice us.
What about the drummer?
The drummer seems to be enchanted himself to play the drum.
I was under the impression that the lift itself was unguarded, that we would be able to get there without being detected.
That's what she's saying.
Yeah.
But not only would the Yuanti not see us at this point because they're not around, but the Zinti wouldn't
Right.
recognize us.
But I guess I was just saying that because I don't think we need to worry about the drummer if we were to go below. And I think, well, did we have any evidence to suggest that Ivana and Richard were below? I kind of feel like that was my impression, but it could have just been. I could have filled that in myself.
Should we do
could have imagined that.
Should we do a check to see if we can recognize Ivana and Richard? If we could pull them out of the crowd from.
We know that they belong to the Order of the Shield, and we know that they're not Zinti.
Yep.
Yep, and you don't out of the outsiders that you see working, they don't appear to have any kind of symbols that would indicate that they belong to the Order of the Shield. So at this point, you have no idea. I can't remember as well if Saven had disclosed the location of them, or if he just said, I haven't seen them in days, and left it at that.
Probably should have asked what they looked like.
He did briefly go into... He said their names, and that one was a woman, and the other, Richard, was an academic, and he wasn't built for labor.
So looking out, we don't see anyone that fits the bill yet?
No, not yet.
All right.
Yeah, for whatever reason, I was under the impression that they might be below. And I don't remember if that was because of something that Saven said or if it was something that I just
A gut feeling.
assumed, yeah.
Do you think they have more workers below?
Of course they do.
Yeah, whatever they're trying to do here requires labor.
What I'm worried about is if we walk out there, this Zinti that's strumming, you guys think he's possibly enchanted, but we don't know for sure. Like, if we just walk out there, is he going to be like, what the fuck are you guys doing?
He's going to change his tune, and then all the Zinti are going to look at you.
Wait, it's a Zinti that's drumming, not a
No,
Yuanti?
it's the Yuanti.
It's a Yuanti.
Oh,
Yeah.
I thought you just said Zinti.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, no, I don't think the Yuanti's enchanted. Well, he's in a trance, perhaps, but I don't think he's... I think he's with... I can't find words.
Irme thinks that without... she's going to say, I think without a unenchanted guard present, we can probably walk amongst these people. But beyond that, she's at a loss on what our next move should be.
I think the reason why... Perhaps it's only because of my archaeological curiosity, but there is something below the earth here. I'm inclined to want to go take the lift. We could do so undetected. Perhaps there are more slaves below, and we may be able to find Ivana and Richard down there.
And if we find Richard and Ivana down there, we could possibly remove their collars, and on our way out, end the drumming.
Final fuck you to the Yuanti.
Yes, once the drumming stops, the Yuanti will know something is up.
Yeah.
Initially, I thought we needed to end it immediately, but I don't think that will be to our advantage.
While you guys are talking, you notice the patrolling brood guard makes his way up and then systematically moves back down to continue that U-shaped patrolling path. When you recognize your moment to proceed, you do so. It is as expected. As you move out, the Zinti nearest to you don't appear. I'm sure you kind of put your toe in the water when the one that was coming back for stones, you kind of crept out in front of him. And then when you realized that he didn't respond to your presence, you kind of, went a bit further with it, and then began to approach the rest of them. And you make it to the lift unmolested.
Must be loud with the drums right now.
Very
I
loud.
could hear them so far away on the ridge.
Yep.
Should we work the lift ourselves or just wait for another crew to
Now,
go
there is a
down?
crank on the platform itself, and there's another crank up top. And you can only
Let's
assume
go.
that there's another one on the bottom.
And
Quincy, you seem,
Quincy is familiar with...
you're familiar with the
Operations.
machinations.
Okay.
All right, what happened to the two that came up from the left?
They had disappeared following the path of the patrolling guard, and they had moved out of view.
So essentially they went south
Yep.
or whatever direction.
Yep. And it's
that
been
actually
probably about 10 minutes, I'd say, and you haven't heard anything or had been alerted, so you can only assume that they hadn't gone to the Elder's hut yet.
Yeah.
Continue to move with haste. Keep the nighttime in our favor.
Yeah, could we all fit on the lift at once?
Yep, it's a 10 by 10 lift,
Okay.
or a little smaller, but yeah, you can all fit. And
All right.
you make it on there.
Two
Start
8x4.
cranking our way
One
down.
person operates the wheel, and you begin to descend. Who's going to operate the wheel, just so I know?
Quincy will take the wheel. He's familiar with this. It might even feel reassuring to him.
Yeah, when you get to it, it is definitely a makeshift version of what you are accustomed to. It almost looks a little nerve-wracking at first, but, desperate times call for desperate measures, and you kind of swallow it, and you begin your descent.
You sure this thing is safe?
Zevril, I am never sure of it, 100% sure of anything.
As the lift reaches its full descent, you estimate it at about a full 60 feet you went down. You find yourself in the first of several chambers. Let me open up the map.
So as it's descending, are we in like a tunnel, or is it like immediately open into a cavern?
The chamber that the lift comes down in, it's area 1 on the map there. You find yourself in the first of several chambers, recognized by a barred gate to the north and a hallway just before that to the east. Quincy, you immediately identify this ruin as a tomb by original nature, but had since been used for the purpose of housing prisoners, maybe, and perhaps even a makeshift laboratory or a ritual site at some point. Broken glass vials litter the floor, along with empty scroll cases. The smell of sulfur hangs thick in the air.
Who would have guessed there would be such a thing just below the jungle?
The room itself that the platform lands in is 20 feet long in this small chamber, and then the hallway going north is 10 feet wide. The ceiling itself is only maybe about 8 feet tall. It's not a very big place, which is also an indication of a tomb of sorts.
Do you think this was part of the Taguda village? Or is this more recent?
I believe that Taguta were probably unaware of its existence.
Yes, this seems older.
It seems odd that they would have such a way or reason to come down here.
I do not believe the Yuantia here by chance. I do not believe it's a random occurrence. I think they are looking for something specific. I'll share with the group my impressions of the ruin.
I would agree with you, Quincy. They are not here by chance.
Yep, so Quincy shares the details that this is perhaps a tomb that at one point also been repurposed, and yada yada, everything that I just described. And yeah, so you have pretty much, you don't hear any movement or anything down here, which is reassuring. The path to the north, once again, investigating it a little bit more closely, it's a barred gate, and the bars had been split and pushed inward, large enough for a medium-sized creature to fit through comfortably. But it looks like something had burst its way through into the room. And just before that entryway, that barred gate to the north, there's a tight 5-foot wide passage leading to the east into another chamber, and that chamber is sealed by a wooden door.
Is there anything that Irme can discern about possibly who had built this? Anything on the walls?
Honestly, with Quincy's archaeology skills, he knows these ruins as a whole appear to be built roughly 200 years ago by the Yuanti, is what you gather.
I was going to say I should know the race that built them.
Yep, the race and I think the age, right?
Purpose and race, perhaps the age. But. So I'm going to share with the group, these are Yuanti ruins themselves. So it is not far-fetched that they would know of their existence.
Is that a tomb up ahead, Quincy, beyond those bars?
A massive sarcophagus rests in the center of the chamber to the north, beyond the barred gate there. The elaborate serpentine design with silver filigree indicates a Yuan-ti of great respect had been buried here, and the lid appears to have been left halfway open.
I will approach and peer inside.
So as you approach this room, another thing that you notice, especially you, Quincy, and you, Aramay, immediately catches your attention is the walls on all sides of the room are covered in hieroglyphs, marred by the passage of time.
Copernicus will kind of trace his fingers over them.
Yeah, you feel
dusty?
It's actually very moist down here, and there's maybe some lichen on it, growing on the not like werewolves, but like a.
I'm thinking like the drow part of him. He kind of just feels comfortable,
Underground.
even though he's never actually lived underground. It's just kind of in his blood.
I want to cast comprehend languages
Okay.
on the ruins.
Nice.
On the runes.
They're actually
Hieroglyphs.
hieroglyphs.
Sorry. Yep.
I'm not sure. I mean, even being an archaeologist, you could take 10, and even without but that,
Oh, okay.
that might speed things up. But if it doesn't consume a spell slot, you could study it, and especially with Aramay's
No, it's a
help.
first level spell.
Yeah, you guys can. So I have it set here that if one of you is trying to translate it, it'll take about 20 minutes
Okay.
by a trained academic, and if two of you work on it together, it'll cut that time in half. So it's going to be about 10 minutes to really get into the thick of what these hieroglyphs are saying.
Seeing Copernicus run his hands along the wall, Iramay is going to say, "A common thread of all cultures is respect and fascination with death and the dead. It escapes no culture that I've ever learned of."
So Quincy, you're reading these, you're kind of thinking out loud, I'm picturing. You're reading it and talking out loud as you're going, like every archaeologist does. And I don't know if that's true. But all the movies I see, that's what they do.
I was thinking Fifth Element.
That Fifth Element, yeah, Indiana Jones, they always, as they're doing it, they're saying it out loud. And then as you're doing it out loud, Aramay is kind of chiming in, bringing in her anthropological assessment into it, and you guys are kind of piecing it together. I don't know if that's a real word either, anthropological, but so this is what you're gathering. Omu, it talks of a great city, and they called Omu. And Omu was once a jewel in Chult's crown. Built over rich mineral veins, the city garnered wealth in abundance, and Omuan jewelry was coveted far and wide, and the city's merchants grew fat on commerce. You can make out the words "Gate to Paradise Itself." You bring your light source over to the next wall. Such wealth brought greed. Omu's hunger for slaves made her rulers demand ever greater tribute from their neighbors. And when their vassals couldn't pay in flesh, they paid in blood. Omu's feared legions marched across Chult. And then you hear a voice startle you from behind. "Handsome and intelligent." And you all turn around abruptly, and you notice Sybil sitting on the end of the sarcophagus with her legs crossed.
I missed you, Sybil. It's been a few days.
Who the hell is that?
The Omuan's greed and hubris angered the god Uptau, causing him to turn his back on Omu 200 years ago, long before he abandoned the rest of Chult. Her foggy form, her visage is foggy to you guys, but Copernicus, she's very detailed to you. Her foggy form floats over to the writings on the wall, and she appears to scan the writings for a moment before turning away slightly in slight disgust. Without Ubtao, Omu's clerics lost their spells, and the city fell to sickness and disease. Slave uprisings racked Omu, and its nobles fled in droves, the swine they truly were. Maps showing Omu's locations were destroyed, and its coins were melted down and reminted. fallen from grace, Omu became known as the Forbidden City.
Oh.
You are well on your way, Copernicus. You make me proud.
You can always count on me. Is this Forbidden City? Is it what we seek? Is it? Do you think it's there?
There is a great power that hides much detail of Omu from me, which only leads me to believe that it is where the Krugen Sphere is held.
So these ruins were not part of that city.
These ruins appear to be a false tomb of some Yuan-Ti priestess.
False tomb.
Yes, if
Wait,
you look within this sarcophagus. What is it, Zavril? Speak.
You all know this thing? What is this? Where did this come from?
Ah,
She's my friend.
he was
Zavril.
sleeping during her
Friend is
midnight visit.
perhaps too kind a term.
We are linked together. Me and this one.
Copernicus made a pact with her.
I'm making something very nice for you, Sybil.
You make me proud always, Copernicus. Even I might be rough on you at times, calling you a fool. But
I'm learning, though.
Yes, you are learning to call others fool.
you know how I truly feel of you, Copernicus. I will leave you to your ways. You are doing well, following in my footsteps. And she vanishes.
She is enough to give one the heebie-jeebies, Copernicus.
You'll get used to her after a while.
I would hope not.
How long has she been there for?
Always.
She's been with me for years. I'm glad you finally got to meet her.
So you notice inside the open sarcophagus.
Yeah, Quincy was
there-
going to approach it.
And once again, just as Sybil said, it only confirms there doesn't appear to be a body inside, and instead there are some buried trinkets and just various treasures. Just a quick glance, you could probably assume maybe 300 gold pieces worth of loot here. But there is a spot that looks like something was there, and now it is
There
gone.
was a body.
No, not a body, like an item. Looks like amongst the treasure, there was something there, and now it is missing.
So now it's impossible for us to know if the Yuan-Ti got what they wanted. If they were looking for the body, then they did not. But if they were looking for the item, then they're one step closer to whatever it is they're trying to accomplish.
If they took the item, one would assume that that's what they were looking for.
Yeah, but at least they left all this for us.
And Copernicus is stashing it.
Are there any parchments in there?
There are no parchments. It's all pretty much jewelry and goblets, like chalices and or chalici, whatever the fuck. And
Let us collect what we can for the 3 C's shipping and freight, and then perhaps check out the other chamber.
Devitas is going to be giddy with this.
all right, you guys gather it all up as much as you could carry without being encumbered. You could comfortably, fight, and you then move down to the sealed room. Now, this is a standard issue wooden door. Does appear to be not ancient, but a couple 100 years old anyway. Strong door, but it does look rather weak. It's getting frail in time, and it does not appear to be locked.
Brace yourselves. Just be prepared for anything. I know we've been caught off guard a few times.
Yeah, so I guess Quincy will draw his rapier. I don't know that I expect anyone to be here, but I will follow your advice.
And Copernicus will kind of get up close to the door and put his ear to it.
All right, give me a perception check.
That's a 6.
This door is really thick. I can't hear anything on the other side.
There's nothing there.
There's not even a room back there.
It's just a door against the
Pretty
wall.
sure this is just a wall painted as a door. No, nothing here. Let's go.
You were fooled once in the hut. No.
Forgot about that.
Are we ready?
All right, yeah. I'll creak it open.
All right, the door is ajar. All of a sudden. Must be transmutation magic. This blood-covered room hosts a gruesome scene of 2 dead bodies,
Oh, shit.
See, I told
Male
you.
and female.
both of which bear markings of the Order of the Shield, though the female appears to be horribly disfigured, as though she had partially undergone a transformation that it halfway resembles that patrolling creature that you saw above. In the center of the room sits the statue of a serpent, unlike any you had ever seen. Even in crude detail, the creature is terrifying to look at. The male is a scrawny robed figure, covered in bruises and open wounds on his face. The spectacles rest crooked on his over his eyes, with blood smears and cracked lenses. A scroll case protrudes from his inner pocket.
Ivana, Richard.
It would appear so.
I think it's time we should be leaving now.
Quincy
Yes.
will reach for the scroll case, and also if the markings for the Order of the Shield are they on clothing? Are they like jewelry? What is that?
The robed figure has a brooch, clasp,
Yeah.
robe clasp, which bears the mark, and you notice on the woman it's tattooed.
Well, I'll take the brooch.
I'll take the tattoo.
A memoir of your friend.
Yeah, so we have something to return to them. And if she has anything like jewelry or something that's,
Yeah.
maybe that somebody would care about.
Anybody doing? You could do a medicine check to kind of try to, if you wanted to investigate the.
Irame is
forensics, I
just
guess.
staring blankly down at the sight of seeing an academic and the cracked glasses. She's going to touch her glasses. Seeing what Cholt has done to people like her, she's a little bit struck.
Zabril is going to stare at the statue, pacing back and forth, very uneasy.
I examined the bodies, but I only rolled an 8 for my medicine check.
Okay, anyone else want to aid him or help him discern the situation?
Sure.
That actually gives him an advantage, so he can roll again.
Still just a 5. Actually, that one was lower. 8.
Yeah, so you can't really distinguish the cause of death.
Can I inspect the statue?
Inspecting the statue, there doesn't appear to be anything out of the ordinary other than this terrifying serpent creature. You've never seen anything like it. And it actually, staring at it for a little bit, you swear you've seen an image of this somewhere, but you can't really place it. It could have been in the book that Syndra went over with you on the boat.
Does it seem to be a depiction of a god or an idol, or just simply a representation of a race?
Yeah, that's what it was. Not a god, but a primordial. It was a primordial. Dendar was the name. Dendar the Night Serpent. Now, you remember this from going over the book with Syndra along the boat. It's all kind of coming back to you now.
The night serpent or the night?
N-I-G-H-T.
Thank you. Sorry.
Now, you didn't really study this specifically, but you do recall something in that book that Syndra was going over with you in the ship. on the way to Chult. You remember there was definitely a tale, a legend, if you will, of the god Uptau and Dendra, the night serpent. And you feel like you're recalling that somewhere beneath one of the peaks of Chult, there is a large steel door that had been imprisoning this primordial in Chult. And Uptau, his sole purpose, if there was ever a purpose for a god, was to, you can't remember if it was either to keep this Dendar from entering the realm, or if it was to, when Dendar awakens, it was Uptau's job to do battle with this primordial. And it would be a great battle that would be the deciding fate of the realms. But once again, legends are legends, and there's no telling what's real and what's not.
Well, Copernicus will do a patrol around the room, looking for anything else that'll catch his eye, with the statue, with the walls.
While he's doing that, Irame will tell the tale of Dundar and Uptau. Maybe allude to that could be why the Yuan-ti are here, to, in fact, free this primordial. Maybe there's an artifact here they can use.
How frightening.
Yes, this goes much deeper than we thought.
So yes, as you were relaying the story, Quincy, the scroll case that you pull out. Yeah, so as you reach in to grab the scroll case, you notice there are several parchments rolled up inside of it. And there's also a ring inside.
I will cast Detect Magic once again.
All right, the ring does in fact glow.
Ooh.
Oh, what'd you find there? My birthday is coming up, Quincy.
Could I tell what School of Magic is?
Yep, 1 second. You notice that it's a ring. Are you identifying it straight up?
Yeah, so for now, I'll just get the School of Magic. I do not have the materials here to identify this ring, but as we get back to Nyanzaru...
So as you cast Detect Magic, once again, the patterns of the weave begin to glow on the ring, and zooms in, and the way the mesh is, it's definitely transmutation magic.
Ooh.
Now, you can, I believe this is the official rules, when you rest, you could study the ring to identify it. I believe that's what it is.
Is that through some kind of check or something, or is it just a
time thing?
I think it's just a time thing. You can, but I'll have to, yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Can I do like a perception to see what those two people were, like, where their tracks were going while they were down here? Or like, are these bodies freshly killed? Because those two people just came up on the lift.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm kind of wondering now, because this place is so small, like, what were they doing down here? Because we found
like
all
an
that
investigation or survival.
We found these bodies. They didn't take anything from these bodies. So what the heck were they doing down here?
Perhaps they brought Richard down because he was a scholar?
They took that one item.
Yeah, give me an investigation roll.
They wanted his expertise.
And then killed him? Ooh, natty 19.
Nice.
Hey, 16.
17.
All right, so their tracks are all over the place. What you can figure out, though, is in that first chamber where all the broken vials were and empty scroll cases, it had looked like, you know, something was shuffled there and maybe picked up. Maybe there was
missing piece. Yeah.
The missing piece. Yeah, any of those could have been. You see recent movement of that where the missing piece was in the sarcophagus, but you also see in that first chamber it looks like there was some sort of ritual happening, and they had cleaned it up for the most part quickly and left. So there's still a bunch of empty scroll cases around. The smell of sulfur still hangs in the air, and there's still broken glass vials all over the place. So
After not being able to identify the ring right away, Quincy will take a look at the parchments in the scroll case and see if he could figure out what those are about.
Yeah, yep, absolutely. You open up the scroll case, and it was already open from the ring that you pulled out. The parchments, when you pull them out, you notice the writing on top. It appears to be journal entries, quickly scrawled journal entries from Richard, and you notice the first entry says 14 Nidal. We'll pick it up next time.